Oh, we're going. Oh, thank you. Mama's little helper. Anyway, good morning, everybody, and welcome. My name is Robin Berkeley. We are so happy to have you here at the Metro East Unitarian Universalist Congregation. Greetings to anybody who is watching remotely, and I always, I like to have everybody say good morning, everybody. So we'll say good morning. Good morning. So everybody who's watching knows we're here and we acknowledge them. We are a welcoming religious community, and we're very, very glad that you are here. My name, as I said, is Robin Berkeley. I use the pronouns she, her. I've been a member of the congregation for a long time, 2010, I think, and I am the past president of the congregation, and I also serve as a worship associate. So anybody is interested in a sermon, want to get up here and have some fun, because it is fun, let me know, and I'll get you on the schedule as soon as possible. We are located, as you know, here in the Metro East at the Glen Carbon. We are spiritually led by the Reverend Dr. Claudia Hall, and we gratefully share a sacred space with the Edwardsville Masonic Lodge, so thank you all. Our mission, as you can see here, is what drives us to live our values. We are outward reaching and inward seeking, creating a nurturing and intentional community that values acceptance, social justice, and the embodiment of UU principles. So come, let us question together. I'm glad that you're here, whether you're in the sanctuary, online. We hope that you will feel comfort here in this place of comfort, spirit, justice, and hope. We're Unitarian Universalists. Hi, Mommy. I know, it's okay. You can't sneak past me because you're my mom. So we'll open up our service with a prelude by our accompanist, Joy Hafton. Before we start, Joy, I just want to tell you, at the end of the service, we'll have our postlude, and then I have a video that I want to share with you, kind of like what Sayer did a couple weeks ago, which we cannot project. So hang tight after the postlude, and then it all ties together. You'll see when I get there. Thank you. That was beautiful. An important ritual in the Unitarian Universalist faith is the lighting of our chalice. And for Unitarian Universalists, we have many different interpretations, as we have Unitarian Universalists, as you know. So, but some of the most common interpretations are: it's the light of reason, it's the warmth of community, and it's the flame of hope. And the warmth of community is the one that resonates with me today, because we'll be talking about being together in community and things like that. So I am going to be lighting the chalice with our brand new fancy schmancy lighting thing. So thank you, Alex, for that. So we'll see if I can get it to work, which is always a challenge. It's a taser lighter. I know it's a taser lighter. I just, it's a thing. Technology. Woo! That was pretty cool. Now I got to remember to turn it off. Otherwise, we drain the battery. For those of you new here, we're not high church, just so you're clear. Our goal here is really to be as welcoming and warm as we can, to also give you something to take with you for the rest of the week. So we try to keep it light, we try to keep it fun, but also impactful as we can. So anyway, let's move to our chalice lighting. We gather this hour together as people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth in meaning, in celebration of the life we share together. So on that theme of togetherness, I would love it for you to take a moment to greet someone that you have not met yet. And we've got some new faces here, so please do that for a few minutes and say hello. Ooh, Nancy. There you go. So make sure you got it. All right. So before we change the slide and move to the opening prayer, I want to, it's actually a video of a friend of mine who is becoming more world renowned for her poetry. I had the great fortune of going to grad school at the same time as the woman who wrote this poem and who will be up here, Rosemary Watola Tromer. And we taught for the Princeton Review together, so we helped with test prep and stuff. So we both worked there. She was in the English department, and of course I was in the school business, but we were still really good friends. So anytime I see her poetry out there, it's like it floats out there every once in a while, and I see it, and it just gives me great joy. So she gave me permission to share this video of her reading a poem that I thought was really perfect for today. So.
Hello, this is Rosemary Watola Tromer with Poetry Life, poems that help us to feel connected to each other and the world. I started doing this back in 2020 and stopped because, well, various reasons, but it seems like it's time to start. It seems like it's time to really be honoring again how poetry can help us remember who we are. And I thought for today, a poem called Together, just to get us started. Together. It smacks me sometimes how connected we are, that we draw boundaries, build walls, fight wars, call names, and kill. All it takes is a photo of Earth from space, and I'm stunned again how much we are in this together. And though we'd rather not know it, every choice we make affects everyone else. Perhaps this is why I weep when the woman I've barely met embroiders me a sweater with a word she knows I'll love and then brings it to my home. Because it's proof of kindness, a confirmation that beauty not only exists, it will lead us to each other. How easily two strangers might become friends. It can happen anywhere on this small blue and green planet. Anywhere two people coexist. The invitation to be generous, thoughtful, to think of new ways to be good to each other. Each kindness a bridge that spans the world's flaws. Each moment another chance to build another bridge. That's a poem I wrote, and it was published today in One Earth Sangha on their website. And I think about it every time I see our planet. It just gets so obvious. I recommend it as a practice, really, whenever you're feeling super, tight and stuck in your own world and sure that things can't change, find an image of our planet from space and realize, my God, how connected we are, how much we need each other, how precious it all is. I feel like that's what invites me to think, how can I be good to another human? How can I be generous with another human? How can I be more cautious, more careful in my own actions, knowing that it'll affect every other person, every other animal, and the planet itself? Well, thank you for listening. I think I'm going to try and do it every day again. Poems about connection. I hope you'll come back tomorrow for another poem.
And in 2020, she lost her son. Yeah. And I don't recall the circumstances, so I'm not going to try to hazard a guess. But I know that she kind of disappeared for a while. But she's back, and this was actually the end of October when she sort of picked herself up and said, I'm going to keep doing those poems again. And I'm like, thank you, God, because they're so beautiful. So we are connected together. Okay, so please stand in body or spirit to sing our opening hymn, one of our favorites here, number 1064, The Blue Boat Home. You can see our blue boat home right there. Hi, sweetheart. How are you? I like your moose. Moose and moose and squirrel. Love that show. All right. All right. So, what we've tried to do, for those of you new, what we tried to do a number of years ago when we started doing services online is recognizing some people might come across us and go, what is this thing called Unitarian Universalist? And so, what we wanted to do for people who are watching online was to help them to understand our principles, what we stand for, what matters, and what we try to live by. So, what we try to do now is sort of ground our service in a principle and at least show you how it's connected to the things that matter to us as Unitarian Universalists. And so, of course, this is our new graphic, which everybody has problems with the colors and the things and the whatever, but doesn't matter. What matters is the words, so we'll hold on to that. Love is at the center, as always. And really, this is not anything new. This is sort of just rearranged the way we think about our principles. We've had these standard 7 principles for, I don't know, 30, 40 something years, Joy, I don't remember. And they all sort of, all of these things rotate around how important it is that love matters, right? Love is at the center. And that's a tough thing for today and, in today's society. So the mission, thank you. You can go ahead, Alex. So interdependence is the first one, because we are interdependent. I said togetherness, right? That's the theme for today. Togetherness is about this interdependence that we have with each other. When I do something, it affects other people. Everything, it's like a Venn diagram. You can't do one thing and not expect it to not affect multiple other people. Often we think we're on the boat by ourselves, but we're really on that big blue boat. We're doing this together. So it's important for us to acknowledge that. Next slide. Pluralism, right? This gets back to this too, right? We are better as a pluralistic society with different ideas and different perspectives and learning new things. And Jen, what are the kids learning today? About Diwali? About Diwali. So it's wonderful for us to learn about different faith traditions, to understand not just who we are and what we believe, but what we stand for. So togetherness helps us to get through these things as we learn about each other. And then lastly, transformation, because guess what? Through those two things, we can transform the world. And it's also what I want to sort of pull these 3 things together in the sermon as we talk about sometimes what we need to do to take care of ourselves to disengage. But that doesn't mean that we're not caring and that we're not doing the work. Maybe it's just more subtle now. Maybe it's like, the underground during World War II. Whatever it is that we're doing, we will change the world, inch by inch, person by person, piece by piece. Okay, all right. So our joys and sorrows, we have a ritual every week as part of our service to express our joys and concerns and sorrows. And here we can share the things that weigh down our souls or that fill us up with joy, and where those that we love surround us in good times and in turmoil. If you'd like to recognize a joy, a sorrow, or a milestone, you can come forward, place a stone or several stones, because sometimes I take handfuls, and place it in the water to represent your joys and sorrows. There are stones here in the front. I invite you to now come forward, come this way, and we'll move our way around that way just for ease of traffic, and it's a small space. So please let us be in a spirit of prayer and meditation. There's a couple of big ones here. You can take handfuls, it's all good. one for the world today. Okay, so it should be no surprise to you that the story for all ages today is called Together. It's in a story read alouds by Mrs. Begg. And
It's time for story time.
There she goes. Go ahead. It's all good.
It's time for story
She's
time.
much more entertaining.
Come on, friends, and join me now. It's time for story time. Assalamu alaikum. And hello, friends. Welcome back to Story Time with Miss Begg. My Story Time pals and I are so excited that you can join us. So are you ready for the story? So come, let's begin. Our story today is called Together by Charles Fuge. Mom and Dad, if you have a copy, follow along with us. If not, check out the link below to get your own. At bedtime or cuddle time, grown-ups and their little ones can snuggle up together with this adorable and soothing picture book about love, friendship, and the bonds of family, sweetly depicted by the illustrator of Sometimes I Like to Curl Up in a Ball and I Love It When You Smile. A big and small polar bear share a fun-filled, loving day as best friends in their cheerful Arctic home. Young children will love the reassuring rhyming story, and parents will cherish the celebration of the true togetherness of a parent and child. As you look at the world from the safety of home, through the sky is so vast, you won't feel alone. Though the snow seems to go on forever and ever, you'll never be lonely because we're together. Together we wander and wonder at things, and we fly through the air, though we haven't got wings. And when we're together, we don't mind the cold. We always have each other's warmth hand to hold. We often imagine faraway lands with parrots and palm trees and warm golden sands. But then we agree that we don't need that stuff. Just being together is more than enough. Sometimes at night we gaze at the stars and we talk about Pluto and Venus and Mars. You learn new things fast because you're so clever. And learning's such fun when we are together. Together we stand, together we fall, together we travel, one big and one small. Together we laugh and we sing and we play, enjoying togetherness every day. And when you feel worried and you ask me whether I might ever leave you, I always say never. Together you say, as we cuddle up tight, forever I whisper and kiss you good night. Every day is special when it's spent together. What are some of the things that you do as a family together? How do you feel if others join you? Would you also have them play with you? I think so. It's nice to be kind and gentle and be very compassionate, because when playing together, you're always having fun. I hope you enjoyed today's story. Until next time, see you soon. Bye-bye.
What a delight. All right, we'll sing our children out. You journey as you journey, may you know, love and hope go with you, love and hope go with you, learn and grow, learn and grow. All right. So I have one rather long reading today, and I'm sure many of you are familiar with John Pavlovich. He's a former evangelical minister who now is a blogger. He spends a lot of time talking about the human condition and specifically in politics arena. And his blog is called The Beautiful Mess. I subscribe to him on Substack, and I find his messages always resonate deeply for me. So this post that I'll be reading today is called "What to Do When You Don't Know What to Do," and this, because it's sometimes we don't know what to do, and so it was written obviously after the election at some point. I don't remember exactly the date, but let me go through this. It's rare in life that we can say we are in truly unprecedented times, but here we are. This is a pivot point moment for our nation and for the world, really. And despite how we are processing it or how we feel about it or the other places we prefer to be, we're here. And right now in this moment, we can all admit to having a lot more questions than answers. Questions like, how do we hold the grief of all the dreams that feel like they died recently? The plans we made for ourselves, for our families, for this nation. How do we tear up the script that we were supposed to be living right now of joyous celebrations and historic wins and wide open possibility, and write a new one that we actually feel we can survive in and let alone thrive in? How do we attend to the tens of millions of already vulnerable, oppressed, and marginalized people here who in a matter of months will be the target of a movement of exclusion and hatred with more power than it has had in the decades? How do we go back to anything resembling normal, knowing how many people we know and love, work and study, and live alongside have tripled down on lawlessness and bigotry? How do we mourn in their midst, knowing that they are euphoric, at least for the moment? How do we decide if we can still call this place our home while feeling orphaned by its collective decision? How do we as parents and grandparents responsibly care for our children and grandchildren? Do we stay and fight to somehow mitigate the damage to this nation? Or do we, with the limited time we have, abandon a place that feels like it has abandoned us and live the rest of our lives in a culture that aligns with our hearts? How do we as people of faith make any sense of our present circumstances while trying to hold on to any hope of belief in a higher power whose character is good and who is defined by love? Can we still believe that love wins the war when it has certainly lost a critical battle here? Standing, sitting, or perhaps laying in a fetal position at the intersection of existential, constitutional, emotional, and relational crises, any of which on their own would level us. How do we decide where to go and how to move on? And above all, what do we do when, despite our age and wisdom and intellect and competency and experience, we are left with a single answer to every one of the questions? I don't know. The way out of these questions ironically starts with two more questions. The first question, despite how dark or hopeless things feel, what do I still know to be true? You may have fewer answers than you might have had to the question 10 days ago. So I guess it was 10 days after the election. It may not seem like there is much now, but what do I still know to be true? What do I still know to be true about what matters to me, my values? Do I still believe empathy is the better path? Do I still believe that diversity makes us better? And my answer is yes on both of those. Do I still believe that equity is worth fighting for? Right there. What do I still know to be true about the kind of world I'd like to spend the rest of my days building? My dreams. What I think of the future, even a few days into it, what would that place look like? And how might I step slowly back into that dream or being a new one? What do I still know to be true about the kind of people I want to surround myself with? My community. Whether by blood or by choice, do I still want to be around those who care too much instead of those who care too little? Well, you know how I answer that question too. Because even though there is so much you don't know right now, you actually do know quite a bit. Your values and dreams and desires for community are still likely really clear to you. So that first question in matters of values and vision and relationship is, what do I still know to be true? That's what we know. The second question is my heart still beating? It may be broken and bleeding and crushed beneath all of what might have been sand and the worst case scenarios, but it is still beating. Because if it is, and if it isn't you have another pressing concern than finishing this. But if it is, and you are still, he's funny. I mean, I'm sorry I missed that joke as I was reading this, but he's really funny. Oh, okay. It says, is your heart still beating? Because if it is, and if it isn't, you have other more pressing concerns than finishing this. All right. So I delivered it better that time. All right, good. But if it is, you're still breathing. Then you still have work to do and life to live and decisions to make and options in front of you. That doesn't mean that the way forward will be easy or clear. It just means that there is a way forward because time is still ticking and so is your heart. Well, we're here in this beautiful mess and we still don't know. And when you don't know what to do, you have to begin with who you are. You start with the grief, you begin with the burden, and you sit with that sorrow and that despair and that anger until you find the smallest place to move. So I asked you what you still know to be true, and I asked if you're still alive, and I have one more question. Why did you work and canvass and hope and vote the way you did? Why did you spend the last 100 days doing what you were doing? Because whatever propelled you into that voting booth needs to push you to your feet today. Regardless of the election outcome, you're still surrounded by systemic ills and relational fracture and national discord. You've still seen every grotesque reality that's been uncovered over the last 10 years. You're still walking shoulder to shoulder with weary, wounded human beings who are looking for compassionate people to see their suffering and move toward them. You still have a specific front row seat to a place filled with terrors and traumas, and you're the only one with your unprecedented ability to be what that world needs. I would argue that your why hasn't changed. You're just going to discover that what and how again. In the meantime, focus on what is true, on who you are, on the pounding in the center of your chest that confirms that you're not finished yet. So, I really love his stuff. So, let me start with, if you want to go to the next slide. Oh, is there a hymn? Did I miss that? Did I miss that? Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, let's go backwards to the hymn. I kind of buzzed right past that, and I am so sorry. There we go. There it is. Our second hymn, number 90. That was the one we were kind of practicing earlier. For all the fret and fever of the day, which sounds pretty perfect. So this is what I mean. We make mistakes. It's all good. All right. Now we'll move on to the sermon. Find my notes here, sorry. Okay, so the title today is Together, Purposeful Disengagement and Intentional Resistance. And I really like the plug. That was like awesome electrical, connections there. So, and the title of this, I borrowed it from Andrew Watkins, who also has a blog on Substack. And I subscribe to her, and I read a lot of her things, but this particular series, it's actually a series, you had to pay for it, and I didn't pay for it because I'm already paying for enough of these little things. And but the title just hit me between the eyeballs because for a few days after that election, maybe a week or so, probably 2 weeks, I would say, I was in that fetal position, like mentally and emotionally, not physically because life goes on, right? But emotionally, I was there. And I started saying, that's it, let it burn, I'm out of here. And then I realized I don't like that sound from me, but we all have to go through our own process of what it is. But I was struggling with what was next for me, and I was starting to work through that. And then I saw this title and I went, that's what I'm doing. That's it. So I'm purposefully disengaging. And I'm still resisting. And the purposeful disengagement for me is, and I'll get through this as we kind of go through, is I'm not listening to mainstream media. I am-ish. Like I get notifications and I'll read articles, but I am struggling with it being bombarded at me. I'm not saying I'm not listening to news. I am listening to news. I'm on top of things that are going on. I know there are drones heading over somehow on the East Coast. I'm on it. Mom told me that last night, and then I saw it in the news today. So how about that? So yeah, so I know things are going on. I am controlling what I digest and when I get it. Because if not, that bombardment will wear you down. It really will. So I said I'm purposeful, intentional in the disengagement. Like I will go for it when I am ready to read it, when I'm ready to hear it, when I'm like, the name of the guy who won still makes me twitch, I'll be honest. I mean, I've known this man since I worked in New York City. Not known him. I had a friend who worked for him. He's an asshole. I'm on topic. I'm totally on topic, Mom. But you know where I could go with this, right? But so it's a trigger for me. There's no doubt about it. So I hear his voice and I'm triggered. So I have to make a decision when I want to hear it, when I don't, when I want to absorb it, when I don't. And then I said, there's still things that we can do. And so that's when I decided to get involved with the Overnight Warming Center and do those things, because as the reading and as the poem and everything said, it's like there's still things that we need to do, because there are groups that are going to be harmed, and our goal for now is to just mitigate as much harm as possible. You've heard me do a sermon on this. For those of you who have been here for a while, we talk about Archbishop Desmond Tutu says sometimes you got to pull people out of the river, right, to rescue, because people need to be rescued. But then sometimes you need to go upstream and figure out what the heck is going on and why they keep falling in the first place. We can't do that right now. Like we all kind of know, but anytime we try to do that, we get stopped. So right now, our only choice is the rescue. And rescue is good because it still does something to change the world. It takes one kindness. Like I had an exchange with somebody online who said, y'all need Jesus. And I turned around and I went, Christians need Jesus. Right? I mean, Christians need Jesus. I can be a good person and not do it because Jesus told me to. It doesn't mean that I don't value Jesus and what he has to say. I totally do. But I tried to get her to understand that if I turned around and said to her, y'all need Buddha, that she'd be offended by that. And I tried to have this conversation with her, and she left the conversation saying, thank you, that you made me think about some things. I'm like, okay, maybe she did, or maybe she didn't. But maybe she was just blowing smoke. I don't care. But it chipped through the armor. And I hope that people understand that not everybody shares the same values. I said, let's look at the end goal, right? Instead of saying you need Jesus, how about you need kindness? You need compassion. You need love. You need togetherness. You need to be kind to each other. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, there we go. So be goal-oriented. Don't be process-oriented, because it's the goal that matters, right? Christians have a goal. We have a goal. We all have a goal of what we want to achieve, which is what we want: loving kindness on this planet. And that's what we're hoping for. And so that's why there are plenty of people out there who are Christians against Trump, because they understand that he does not represent what many people in the Christian nationalist movement call that. So I want to be careful, because I'm not here necessarily to make this a political talk, although that's the motivation behind it all. So the readings were about the political climate. This motivation, this purposeful disengagement and intentional resistance was also about the political climate, but I'm trying to literally, metaphorically, rise above that, right? And say, really, this is something that can matter to us no matter what, regardless of the political climate, right? What can we do when we face difficult times, whether it's personally, academically, workplace-oriented stuff that Jamie so wonderfully and eloquently talked about last week? You know, these are tough times, and we're dealing with things that can be very, very frustrating. So, you know, what do we do when we're facing grief and disappointment? And there's a number of different things that people do. And I can ask you all, and you could all pipe up with whatever coping mechanism you have. Some people immerse themselves in games. Some people, you know, get into that fight or flight mode where they're either put up your dukes or they hide away in that little ball of misery in the corner, because sometimes it's just so dang overwhelming, we don't know what to do. So we figure it out, and our cortisol levels rise and we get like all jittery about things, but you know, we're trying to process it. Some people drink and smoke and drugs and gamble because it's a coping mechanism. There are times, I remember when I was first coming out, and it was not easy. I would come home from work and there'd be my soon-to-be ex-husband and my kids, and I'd walk in and you do the things and you smile and you nod, and then I'd get a big glass, whatever, and then I went into my room and just sat there and drank, and then I went, oh, I don't like that. I don't like doing that. And so I am very mindful now about when I'm feeling stressed not to engage in the drinking, smoking things. What I do, I get lost in my iPad playing games, which it can be addicting, but at least it's not physically harming me in the same way. So, you know, I'll figure that out too. It's all, you know, comes in time. But basically, some of us find beneficial tools. We go running, we go jogging, we get involved, we do social justice work, whatever, when we're feeling that stress. And some of us, you know, maybe more detrimental ways to cope. It's not here to be a judgment on any of that, because, you know, we all got to do what we got to do. But try, if you can, to think about the beneficial ways that we can focus ourselves and to not get lost in that misery. Because when you get lost in that misery, it's a cycle of being by yourself. Because you drink by yourself, you do whatever by yourself, you're lost in this little box by yourself. And look what Rosemary said in that first poem, togetherness, how important togetherness is. I will tell you, I have been, I lost something here. I've been struggling a little bit myself. And obviously the election has its own issues, but when I got COVID in 2022. It's the only time I've had it, to my knowledge, obviously. And the brain fog that I had after that for months was brutal. I'm sure any of us here are going, yep, I see heads all over the place going, yeah, really. And for me, because, you know, that's my job. I'm in my brain 24/7 because that's what I do as a college professor. That was really hard. And when it finally lifted, what was still there was a heaviness that I really hadn't experienced in a long time. And I at one point, this was in January of 23, I was in my bathroom and I'm like getting ready to take a shower, and all of a sudden I started bursting into tears. And I'm like, what is going on? And I went, better living by chemistry. And off I went to my doctor and said, this is what I need, and I want to get it taken care of. So I've been on Wellbutrin ever since, and I have no problems talking about that. Because I think it's biochemical, the change that it made, so that I am struggling more because of that. Struggling more, I can feel like my ADHD. You know, I have overfocused ADHD, which means my mother will attest, she's sitting there, World War III can go on around me, but I'd be like, huh? What? If you interrupt me, I have a hard time getting back into something. But now I'm finding sometimes it's just really hard to sit and pay attention because my brain has got so much stuff going on in it, and it's really hard. And I think part of it could be sort of side effects from COVID. I don't know. I'm sure we'll all figure it out in about 20 or 30 years once we have the long-term science, assuming Robert Kennedy doesn't mess it all up. But, well, that's a separate issue entirely. We won't go there. We're not going to go there.
Congratulations on using the word mess and what you're really doing.
Right. I have restraint. You would be surprised. So, and I think about, right, these struggles and how easy it is to be by yourself. It's easier, right? I don't want to be around people. I don't want to talk. I don't have the energy. I don't want to go out. I don't want to go see my friends. I don't want to do these things. And then I walk in here on Sunday morning and I go, wow, community together. This place is my heart. And it has been for a long time. I think I told you when I first came here, like literally first week I was here, I was like, you had me at hello. I mean, it was. And I came here and I had people come up to me going, tell us about you. Oh, you're a lesbian. That's wonderful. Come over here and sit with you with this person. And like, I felt like, wow, I fit in here. Like they don't care about those things. Like there are other faith traditions and there are other groups of people that really struggle with that. And I was accepted unconditionally here. And that means a lot. So when I walk here, I feel that power of that togetherness. And I recognize I'm not by myself. And that's the thing that keeps me going. When I isolate myself, I'm not. And sometimes you need to do that short term, right? It's okay. I need to heal. I need to figure it out. But then you have to pick up and get out there because otherwise it becomes the spiral, and it's not a healthy place to be. I mean, look, this sense of like, I don't need anybody. I don't need anything. I can just take care of it all myself. That radical independence is a trauma response. And I will own, right, that I often have felt that way, for a whole host of reasons, which not a big deal. It is what it is. I'm like, I can do it myself. I can do it myself. I will do this myself, and it's hard. So I know that I have enormous privilege, right? I am white, educated. I make good money. I have a wonderful church community that keeps me lifted up. I do. There are areas where I don't have privilege, of course, as an out lesbian. That's often hard. I removed my rainbow flag from in front of my house because there's a Trump flag across the street from me. And it didn't show up until after the election. That's when I was like, oh, I got to pull this down because I can't do that. So there's a little hiding there that was happening. And I'm like, okay, I'm just and it's just about protecting myself. I'm totally out and proud still. Like no questions asked. But I'm just going to have discretion about how I handle things. And I know that I have so many of my friends, and my chosen family that are really struggling for a whole host of reasons. And again, togetherness is what makes it work. I was just at a friend's house. JD was there, actually, last week on Sunday. I think it was Sunday afternoon we were there, right? Yeah, because I saw you at church, and then I'm like, oh, how about that? And we sort of at the end of the day, we were all like, this is our chosen family. And we felt really wonderful and warm and connected. And it felt like safe. And safety is good. Safety is wonderful. So when we think about this notion of mindlessness and mindfulness, just keeping track of time, mindlessness and mindlessness is when we hide as a coping mechanism and we get paralyzed. And that's not what I'm talking about by purposeful disengagement. What I'm talking about is the mindfulness of like, I am going to choose who I interact with. I will choose what I listen to. I will choose how I'm going to handle things. I have chosen to largely decrease my use of Facebook to I've decreased it by 95%. I maybe will go every day or every couple of days. I check on the UU friends, make sure we're good there. I will check on a couple of other friendship groups that I have, in private groups. I don't doom scroll. And you know what? It feels a lot better. doom scroll, like, and you start, reading this person's post, and then you get outraged, and that's doom scrolling. Yeah, we'll talk about that later. It's all good. So yeah, right. So, mindfulness is about not just rolling over and hiding. It's being intentional about how you choose to interact with the world, and that's okay. It's a good thing to do. And like I said before, I think we need to be invested like the Maquis were in, not Deep Space Nine, Maquis, Star Trek reference to it, although that referenced the same thing. It was the underground, the resistance in France, and how they worked. And there's some marvelous, like the history itself is fabulous, but there's even some marvelous historical literature about that, which I can't remember. That's called The Nightingale, I think it was what the book was. It was a fabulous book about this woman who stood up during Nazi Germany and in France after they had been taken over, and how she continued to work to move people out of a dangerous situation in Germany and through France and into safe spaces for people who were fleeing, the concentration camps and the things like that. All right, that's a little extreme, but I'm hoping we never have to go there, but I'm happy to do it. I have worked really hard to help people who need abortion care. I've supported people financially. I have supported people, said, yes, your drugs can be mailed to my door, and I will make sure that you get them because they can't be mailed to Missouri. So I've worked, a little bit on that. I wish I could do more. I do what I can. So those little things are what we need to be doing. Figure out your thing. I don't care what it is. I donate to the ACLU because I really believe right now they're the ones that we're going to have to put our faith in right now to continue to chip away at the legal things. It is local. That's exactly was my point, JD. It is local because that's what the Republicans have done for decades, is worked at that local level, and that local level has lifted itself up and now is overtaken. It's really hard. It's ingrained, and I'm not going to talk about the reasons, the why, the whatever, the theories or the movement issues, but you're right. That's exactly what my point is. It's local. Do the work locally. Support Allison and people on our county board who are trying to do good work there. They need our support. Call the governor and say, thank you, Governor Pritzker. Seriously, because they're saying they're coming for Chicago January 20th. And I'm like, over his dead body. Pritzker ain't messing with nobody because he's a billionaire and he don't need your money to do it. He's going to do what he thinks is right. And do I agree with him on everything? Well, of course not, because, I don't agree with every politician. I didn't agree with Joe Biden on things, and Kamala Harris for that matter. But it's about the cost benefit thing, right? I do that balancing thing in my head and I decide these are the values that matter to me the most. And this is why I support this versus this, whatever that might be. So let's take it out, we bounced, from personal to the political to back to the personal now, the everyday life. Pluralism, togetherness. Don't lose track of your friends, because it's the symbiosis of that loving community that can really make a difference for us to help us to survive. Hiding isolates us, and it's only in connection that we can survive, thrive, know that we have each other's back, and together is just way better than being alone. So disengage where you need to, where it's appropriate, and then get actively involved, right? The intentional resistance. Figure out what your thing is, whether it's providing food for people or working in a warming center or donating your money to the ACLU. Do that. And it's the same thing even when you're struggling yourself. Figure out the thing. There's a researcher called Carl Weick who did a lot of work on crisis management and things like that. But the one article from my grad school that resonated for me is it was called Small Wins. You don't need to have big wins. You need to have small local wins. Focus on small local wins. Focus on the small wins even in your personal life. I'm struggling. I'm going to get up and wash my face today. You're having a hard time? I mean, Margaret came in the other day and she's like, I washed my face for the first time in a couple of weeks and I feel really good. I'm like, awesome. Good for you, but she struggles with depression. I mean, I'm not going to, and she would tell you that, right? Yeah, right. We got to. You got to, get up, like, get a routine, whatever it is. And I don't like routines because I don't like them. I like to be really flexible, but I realize when I have a routine, I feel better. So do whatever it takes for whatever is bothering you. Figure out what it's going to take for a small win for you. Because small wins lead to the next size wins and the next size wins. And it gets a cumulative effect and it gets this positive thing that keeps you moving forward. And that's really what we want to do. So be together with purposeful disengagement and intentional resistance and make the world a better place. All right. Our last hymn is number 1008, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place. Another one of my favorites. Jesse's going to pass around the plate. Today is the last day for anything for Oasis. And I know if anybody, again, cares to make a donation, Becky left, right? Becky, you're here. Oh, there you are. I thought you walked out before. And Becky, obviously, her friend still needs some support. So anything we can do to support her would be great. So a gentle reminder that this is a community of faith supported only by your giving. However, stewardship is more than just financial donations. It's about time, talent, and treasure as well. If you can't write a check, help our church survive and thrive, helping us make coffee, bring snacks, serve as an usher. I think, Diane, you said, I didn't bring any food. Don't worry about it. Next time, bring a coffee cake or something. We're good. Please help our church survive and thrive by offering your time to do all these things, to serve as an usher, to pass the plate, serve on other committees, such as helping with worship on occasion. And really, this is a lot of fun. So if you're interested in doing this, I would love to have you be a part of this. Please donate as you can, and you will. And as you know, this is the address if you need to mail it. For those of you online can see this. You can also give through Givelify. We prefer that you don't use PayPal, but if you need to, we can accept that there as well. PayPal's a little slow to get the money to us, and we need our money. So anyway, thank you so much. All right, please join me in our offering prayer. May this offering equip us to inspire love and seek justice. Yada, yada announcements, lots of them. So this is our schedule for the next couple of weeks. We'll have a Christmas Eve candlelight service. We'll have a Christmas Eve candlelight service, and then Claudia will be in the pulpit on the 22nd and the 29th, and I will pick it up on January 5th. We'll do our burning bowl, not burning bush. I know, burning bowl. I said that last week, sorry. We have no breakdowns, which is yay. Today, as we said, was the last day for the Oasis. If you need an envelope, they're in the giving plate, and we can get one to you if you need it. If you're new here and you want to be on the obviously on the newsletter and get your name tagged, all that, there's things to fill out to do that. And I think, oh yeah, Christmas cookie exchange. And then we have Claudia's class. She had a new member class recently. She said it went really well. And then we've got, now she'll be doing it starting in January, the Bible for Liberal Religious People. So we have that. All right. That might be it. I don't think there was any community announcements that we needed to know. Or you had something?
I mean, I was
Bring it.
nothing too exciting.
Oh, it's okay. It's good. Should have asked you first. I apologize.
This isn't really an announcement. This is more of I wanted to give some appreciation to the people who ran the service last week because my entire family wasn't here, and you all did a phenomenal job, and everything worked. So
Please don't do that again.
yeah, so
Just kidding.
things went fantastic. Good job.
We missed you. We missed all of you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we missed all of you. So thank you very much. Okay. So now we'll move on to extinguishing the chalice. All right. So invite you to join me in reciting the prayer as I extinguish the chalice. The light of truth in me cannot be put out. We are keepers of this flame until we meet again. Our closing words today are from Orlando Brignoli. As we move through life finding ourselves always newly wise and newly foolish, we ask that our mistakes be small and not hurtful. We ask that as we gain experience, we do not forget our innocence, for they are both part of the whole. So we're going to have our postlude, as I said, from Joy first, and then we're going to shut it all down. And then I want to share a video with you from a movie called Spirited. How many of you have seen Spirited? Okay, a few of you have. Mom, I know you have because we watched it together. So, yeah, exactly. And yeah, we watched it with you. Exactly. So you were there. So Spirited is a modern day take on A Christmas Carol. It's got Will Ferrell as Scrooge, but Scrooge is reformed in the movie. Scrooge is reformed, and he's now the ghost of Christmas present because, like, this is all like a business now from behind the scenes. Like, they pick a person every year to redeem them, and they move on from there. And so they're redeeming, the person they're trying to redeem this year is the Ryan Reynolds character who you'll see in the video. And I won't spoil the movie for you, but this is the moment where he has like, he gets the light bulb and he's like, I'm going to do better. Like the whole, I love you, Tiny Tim, let me help you kind of thing, right? So the closing scene really aligns with the message today about togetherness and doing the good that we can, what little bit we can in the world. So I will let Joy continue, and then we'll see how the ripples take us as the song goes on. Thank you. All right, so this is Spirited. This is the closing musical number. It's really like the whole movie's a musical, but this is the closing musical number. If you're interested in watching it, please do, because it's awesome. And it's on Apple TV. So
The link will be in the description. It goes online.
perfect.